Hi, this is Gary with GEEZBEEZ. Hope you're having a good Labor Day weekend. I wanted to talk a little bit today about getting your hives ready for winter and some of the things that I found have worked well with me. And one of the main things I look at is feed. And I've been feeding 1-to-1 sugar water, and they are drawing some frames out still. We're still getting 100-degree days. We're in the 90s a lot. We'll be in the 100, probably 100 again today. But they are drawing those frames out. I put new frames on about 3-4 weeks ago, and they've drawn some of those out. And they need to continue drawing them out. So I'll continue my 1-to-1 feed probably till about late September, 1st October. Then I'll switch over and go to 2-to-1, a heavier syrup for them, easier for them to dry out, and it doesn't take them as much time. I built some sugar feeders, and I built them out of these pallets, and I just took the wood off these pallets and made them the size of my chamber, my brood chambers. And I put this in the middle. The reason I do that is I put 8 pounds of sugar last year, and some of them ran through that. We had a really warm winter, and when it's warm, they're out flying. They will eat a lot of sugar. So I'm putting 10 pounds in this side this year, and I leave one side so that I can feed other things. I fed Hive Live last year. It's a good place to feed your pollen patties. And they will feed normally in the first about 3 or 4 frames when they come up. So watch, because a lot of times they will not come out to these areas and feed. So sometimes you'll have to move some of that sugar into the middle if they've eaten a hole in that sugar. And make sure, because they will not, when they get clustered in the winter, a lot of times they will not move over to these sides, and I've had them starve to death. So make sure that you can do that. But it's just a hardware cloth, and I build my box and put my hardware cloth on, paint it, and then I just take and cut strips, and I think these are about 3/8, ½ inch, whatever. They're 3/8 thick, and then I just staple those on top and paint the outside. And I put a hole in the front, and I think that's a ½ inch hole, and I drill it at an angle where the water will run out if it gets any water, but it shouldn't, because your lid should be on. That's for ventilation. The holes for ventilation helps them ventilate some of that. I will show you how I'm going to make my sugar cakes here in an upcoming video as it starts getting a little cooler out, and I put them right on top. And you want to make sure and get your queen excluders off so your queen can move up, and you want to put that right on top of your cluster. So if you got a double box and you've got honey in it, you'll put it on top of the honey. If you're running singles, you can put it right down, and running singles with that works well with me, because they will get right to that. That's where I've seen them go and get onto their honey, and for some reason they don't move up to that sugar. But when the sugar's right on top of them, they do a really good job. And I had about 30% losses before I started doing this, and I've had about 10 to 8% losses since. So I think it really does work well for me. So right now we'll go down to the yard and we'll take a look at a couple of hives, and we'll look to make sure we don't have them what the quote-unquote honey bound, where they can't lay eggs. The queen doesn't have anywhere to lay eggs because they put nectar and honey in those areas too much. You just don't want to overfeed them, but you want to try to get as much feed on as you can for the winter. Just going through some of these hives today, especially some of these singles. and checking on how much feed they have, what they're putting on for the winter. They're drawing some frames out. I've been feeding some 1-to-1 sugar water. And they have drawn some of this out. I need to probably push some more 1-to-1 on them because I put new frames in just a couple of weeks ago. And I just want to kind of check on them and see how they're doing. We've still got our apivar strips on. She's laying well. They are not filling in with nectar when their brood is hatching, which is something you really need to look out for this time of year when you're feeding heavy. You can really make it to where she doesn't have a place to lay and you won't get your numbers up for winter. They really don't have much as far as stores, so we really need to pour some feed on them in the month of September. I'm going to go ahead and continue 1-to-1 to try to get them to build out a few more frames. Well, she's doing a good job. Seeing very few hive beetles. This time of year you need to look out for that. There you can see they've got some nectar in there on this frame. And they've got a little bit on the corners of this frame. So they need a little more feed. I have stole some brood from this hive earlier to help another hive out, and they're just starting to draw that out. So we will hit them with some more 1-to-1 to get the rest of that drawn out. And then we'll start thickening our feed up as it gets closer to end of September, 1st October. I'll start feeding 1.5 or 2-to-1 and try to get them plenty packed on for the winter. We'll be taking these apivar strips off here in about 2 weeks. So we'll do some night tests to make sure that those strips work pretty well. And we'll just go check another one real quick. So they really have done a good job drawing these out. They're starting to really draw those out. I'm going to hit them with some 1-to-1 this week, and hopefully they'll finish drawing that out. They're doing real well as far as brooding up this time of year. As hot as it's been, I've been surprised they've done so well. You can see they don't have anything in that frame whatsoever. Very little bit in the corners. So they could use some feed, definitely. Just want to make sure not overfeed them, and that's why I'm looking today if I need to continue feeding them, but they are brooding well. And filling in well in between the hatched. So just need to get a little more feed on these. I think they're doing just fine. I'm not seeing a lot of hive beetles, which is good for this time of year. I have been putting my peppermints on. I put peppermints on early in the year. I put them on after I got done with the honey harvest. I went ahead and put peppermints on then, and I am not seeing hardly any beetles at all. So real happy about that. You just take your hard peppermint candies that you can buy. I buy mine at Dollar General. You buy those and put one in each corner of each brood box if you're running doubles. Stick one in each corner of the brood box. Do it a couple of times, and they'll eat those in about 2 days. And I'm really not seeing the hive beetles this year at all. We're on the trails going to my south yard, out for a good walk today, and I saw a lot of persimmons. And when we first got this place, the persimmons were really sparse. You just didn't see many persimmons on the trees. The bees absolutely love persimmon trees. I mean, when they're on, they're all over them. So this year, their hard work has paid off. We have tons and tons of persimmons since they've been helping with pollination out here. So lots of other things too. Well, I appreciate you watching. Hope you're doing well. Hope your bees are doing well. Thank you.